Before we go anywhere, hit subscribe, lock in, and stay with me, because what you're about to see, most people never even get close to. Welcome to Inside. I'm Vivi Steele, and today we are going inside the most expensive nights ever. Now, quick reality check. If you've ever spent $40 at a bar and felt it the next morning, yeah, same. But tonight, we're stepping into a different world. A world where people drop more in a single night than most of us will make in years. And the craziest part? Somehow, it doesn't feel insane. It feels normal. Stay with me. This is going to get expensive. Let's start in Las Vegas, because there is truly no better place on earth to watch money become meaningless. And when we talk about money becoming meaningless in Las Vegas, we have to start at XS Nightclub, one of the highest grossing nightclubs in the world, and the site of what multiple sources including Forbes and veteran nightlife insiders have confirmed, single night tabs that cross the $1 million mark. $1 million spent in a club. Now here's the part that really gets me. The people spending this kind of money at XS were almost never publicly named. Venue operators confirmed the spends they had to. These numbers showed up in industry reporting, but the actual buyers? Anonymous. Ghost whales. People so wealthy that dropping $1 million on a Tuesday night wasn't worth putting their name on. They didn't post it, they didn't brag about it. They just did it and went home. And what were they spending on? Champagne. Specifically, the kind of champagne order that arrives with a full procession, dozens of bottles at a time, each one carried through the crowd by staff holding sparklers, the whole thing choreographed like a Broadway production, except the running costs are significantly higher. Documented orders at XS during peak years included hundreds of bottles in a single service. Not hundreds of glasses, hundreds of bottles of champagne that by the end of the night was being poured on people's heads more than into their glasses. I love this and I hate this in equal measure. $1 million on champagne you're gonna spray on strangers? That is either the most liberated thing a human being can do with money, or it is a cry for help dressed in a Versace suit. I genuinely cannot decide. Okay, transitioning now from anonymous whales to a man who has never been anonymous a single day in his life, Floyd Mayweather Jr., who turned nightclub receipts into a personal brand strategy so effective that marketing professors probably study it. Mayweather had a pattern, not a rumor, not a one-off, an actual documented pattern of walking into clubs like XS Nightclub and Dre's Nightclub in Las Vegas and running up tabs between $100,000 and $200,000 in a single night. And then, and this is the part, photographing the receipt and posting it, on purpose, for everyone to see. There is a now legendary receipt from a night at a Las Vegas club where Mayweather's tab showed multiple cases of Ace of Spades champagne, bottles of Bel Air, and a final number that looked like a phone number rather than a bill. The venue confirmed it, the internet screamed about it, Mayweather by all accounts was unbothered. And look, I will say this, as a flex, it works. You have to respect the commitment to the bit. Most people who spend that much money want to do it quietly. Mayweather looked at that receipt and thought, no, this is content. The man spent $200,000 on a night out so regularly that it stopped being news. That is either the peak of capitalism or the end of it. Possibly both. If Mayweather was the king of the documented flex, then Dan Bilzerian was the king of the era where the point was never the champagne at all. It was always the spray. During the height of his social media run in the mid-2010s, Bilzerian's nightlife spending became genuinely difficult to track because the numbers aggregated so fast across so many events. We're talking about reported seven-figure totals across parties, where the primary activity was purchasing hundreds of bottles of expensive champagne, specifically to shake them and discharge them onto crowds of people, not to drink, to waste, intentionally. And this is where I need to stop and editorialize for a second, because spray culture is one of the most fascinating and deeply weird things that happened to nightlife in the last 20 years. At some point, some very rich person looked at a bottle of Cristal and thought, you know what this needs? To become a weapon. And then everyone else followed. Suddenly the metric for how good a night was had nothing to do with whether anyone enjoyed themselves, and everything to do with how much product hit the ceiling. I'm not gonna lie to you, there is a part of me that finds it kind of thrilling to watch. There is a much louder part of me that wants to hand every one of those bottles to a sommelier and let him weep quietly. Alright, shifting from performative excess to the kind of excess that doesn't perform for anyone because the audience is already rich. Monaco, St. Bart's, New Year's Eve. The parties that don't have a hashtag because the people throwing them don't need validation from the internet. During the Monaco Grand Prix each year and on New Year's Eve in St. Bart's, there exists a tier of nightlife spending that most nightlife reporting can only gesture out vaguely. Yacht charters in these circles, confirmed by industry sources, regularly run $500,000 and above for a single week, and that is before you factor in catering, security, private entertainment, and the fireworks displays that have been documented as closing out certain New Year's parties at sea. A-list DJs are flown in on private planes, guests arrive by helicopter. And the actual attendees, people like Leonardo DiCaprio and Jeff Bezos, who have both been named in connection with this social circuit over the years, are people for whom even the XS $1 million tab will feel quaint. What gets me about these nights is the invisibility. Nobody posts it, nobody reports it in real time, there is no receipt photo, no tabloid photographer, no velvet rope drama. Just a yacht, an ocean, fireworks that cost more than a house, and a handful of people who all agreed, without saying so, that the entire point was that you had to already belong to even know it was happening. Honestly, that is the most chilling flex of all of them. Money so large it becomes a secret. But speaking of secrets, let's talk about the one night a year when absolutely nobody in the nightlife industry is keeping secrets about their prices. New Year's Eve. Las Vegas on New Year's Eve is its own economic event. Clubs like Omnia at Caesars Palace have documented table minimums for New Year's Eve that start at $25,000 and climb to $100,000. And again, those are the minimums, the starting point. Groups have been reported spending upward of $250,000 in a single venue on a single New Year's Eve, and the venues simply let it happen, because on this one night, the ceiling is gone, it doesn't exist. The room is priced at whatever the room can bear, and what the room can bear is apparently a number that would make your accountant need to lie down. Hotels double their rates, restaurants triple theirs, and the clubs just smile. Because they know that on December 31st, for approximately 6 hours, the normal rules of spending do not apply, and people who know those rules don't apply will spend accordingly. I throw a good New Year's party. I make a nice cheese board. I feel great about it. Now, to understand why any of this exists, why we have spray culture and receipt photos and million-dollar champagne parades, you have to go back to a single club in Manhattan in 1977. You have to go back to Studio 54. Steve Rubell and Ian Schrager opened Studio 54 on West 54th Street and almost immediately created something that had never existed before. A room where Liza Minnelli and Andy Warhol and any given European aristocrat might all be standing within 10 feet of each other on any given night, spending money at a rate that the owners themselves apparently struggled to track. According to the tax evasion case that eventually brought the club down, millions of dollars were being skimmed from the operation. Not necessarily out of malice, but reportedly because the cash was moving so fast that accounting it properly was almost beside the point. Rubell and Schrager were convicted in 1980. The club closed, and in its wake it left something more durable than any receipt or bottle order. It left the proof that the right room could generate a kind of collective spending madness that defied logic. Studio 54 didn't invent wealth. It invented the idea that the right space could make wealth feel like permission. Permission to spend, to perform, to become, for one night, something larger than your actual life. Every club that came after it, all of them, is chasing that original feeling. Most of them get close on the right nights. None of them have fully caught it. And finally, the nights where sports and nightlife collide and the whole thing just detonates financially. Vegas fight weekends. When Floyd Mayweather was fighting, when a major UFC card was in town, Las Vegas nightlife didn't just have a good weekend, it had its best weekends of the year, reliably, every time. Clubs reported record single-night revenue figures tied directly to major bouts, with groups spending between $100,000 and $500,000 in a single venue on fight night itself. Athletes, promoters, managers, all converged on clubs that were already running premium pricing and spent with the particular energy of people who have just watched someone get punched in the face for $50 million. There is something deeply human about that energy, honestly. You watch extreme competition, extreme stakes, extreme physical output, and then you want to go somewhere and spend extremely. It makes a weird kind of sense. The ring raises the temperature of everything around it. Mayweather-Pacquiao weekend in May of 2015 is probably the single most documented example, widely reported as generating record nightlife revenue across multiple Vegas venues simultaneously. The clubs were packed, the tabs were historic, and somewhere in all of it, the line between sport and spectacle and nightlife completely dissolved. So here is what all of this actually is. When you strip away the sparklers and the spray and the yacht fireworks and the anonymous receipts, it is the human need to mark a moment. To stand somewhere and say, I was here, and here cost this much, and the price is the proof that it mattered. For some people, that means status. For others, it means belonging to something. For the very, very few who drop $1 million anonymously and go home without telling anyone, it means something we probably don't have a word for yet. The nights that cost the most are rarely the most fun. The ones that end up in the coverage are rarely the most honest, and the ones on the yachts in Monaco that nobody ever writes about are almost certainly the most extreme of all. But that's exactly why we're here. Because getting inside means seeing what they don't post, what they don't publish, and what they absolutely do not want you to know. The real numbers, the real rooms, the real story behind the story. Nobody is handing out invitations to this world, but consider this your all-access pass. I'm Vivi Steele. This has been Inside. I'll see you next time. Brought to you by Inception Point AI. Subscribe, like, and comment for more.